In this tutorial, I'm going to be going over some of the basic principles of perspective and also showing you a tutorial on how to create a grid or template that will help you lay out three figures on a piece of paper in order to make them look like they're going back in space. So perspective is all about the illusion of depth and how to create it on a two-dimensional surface such as a piece of paper. I'm going to be covering very basic components of perspective, starting with the picture plane. The picture plane is basically the piece of paper that you're working on. It can also refer to a window through which you're looking at the scene that you're drawing. The next piece of the perspective puzzle is the eye level line. We're going to be talking a lot more about the eye level line later on. For now, just think of it as the line that's at the level of your eyes. And where you place it on the paper will make a big difference in how your drawing goes. In this case, I've placed the eye level line exactly at the center of my paper. My paper is in a horizontal mode. And by the way, I'm using newsprint paper for this. So it's about 9 inches from the top, 9 inches from the bottom. The next thing I want to talk about is the ground plane. The ground plane is what is below the eye level line. Above the eye level line is called space or sky. The ground plane is the plane upon which objects will sit. Objects above the eye level line will appear to float or hang unless they're sitting on top of an object that's sitting on the ground plane. So we'll be going into a lot more detail about the components of perspective, but right now what I want to do is show you how to create a grid or template that's going to help you with this project. So in this project, we're going to be drawing three figures on a piece of paper, and we're going to be drawing them in such a way that they appear to go back in space. So here's an image of the mannequin from last week's exercise. This is the one that I drew. You do not need to use yours. You can just use the measurements that I'm going to give you here. So I'm going to start with, here's my eye level line. I'm going to start with a vertical line that indicates the height of my figure. My figure is about 12 inches high. So I've placed this line at the top of the head and the bottom of the feet, and it's about 6 inches from the top and then again 6 inches from the bottom. Next, I want to mark some major proportional guidelines. The first is going to be the top of the torso. And that's about 2.5 inches from the top of this 12-inch line. So that's a 12-inch line right there. The next line I make is going to be right at about the top of the hips. That's about 4.5 inches from the top of this 12-inch line here. And the last mark I'm going to make is right about the top of the calves, bottom of the knee socket there. That's at about 9 inches from the top of this 12-inch line. So that gives me my basic proportions from which I can derive the rest of the proportions of the body. What I'm going to do now is turn off some of these images so I'm not being distracted by them. Turn off the mannequin and all of the text boxes that show the sizes of things, etc. What we want to work with now are these marks that we've made, and we're also going to place what's called a vanishing point on the eye level line. Again, we'll go over this a lot more detail in later videos and exercises, but right now I'm going to place a vanishing point at about 16.5 inches from this 12-inch line right here. So not from the edge of the paper, but from this line. So here's the mark. So that's going to be where I draw some diagonal lines to. Those diagonal lines are going to be called receding lines or vanishing lines. They're also indicating depth. We have height and width now, and we're going to create some lines that indicate depth. So I'm going to draw a line from the top of my 12-inch line to that vanishing point. I'll draw one from the torso, from the hip line, from the calf line, and from the bottom. So what I've created here is like a plane that's going back in space. I'm just going to turn off my marks that helped me determine where those lines should be. Now what I want to do is create some more vertical lines that are going to indicate the heights of some other versions of the mannequin. That'll be smaller than our original. All I really have to do this is draw some vertical lines that meet at the top and bottom vertical or diagonal lines that are indicating the depth. So I'm going to put a line at 8 inches. Now this is 8 inches from the edge of the paper to here. And then I'm going to put one at 12 inches. Again, from the edge of the paper to here. So this gives me a grid that I can now use for placement and positioning. The last thing I want to do is I want to fold this piece of newsprint paper at these marks. I'll show you why that's important in the next video.